The world watches with bated breath. In the heart of the Middle East, a high-stakes drama unfolds. The stage is set for another round of talks between the United States and Iran. The issue at hand is one of grave importance: Iran's nuclear ambitions. The outcome of these talks could reshape the geopolitical landscape. Will these negotiations usher in a new era of peace and cooperation? Or will they stumble on the same roadblocks that have plagued past attempts? The answer remains shrouded in uncertainty. The stakes are incredibly high. The specter of a nuclear-armed Iran hangs heavy in the air. Global powers fear the consequences of such a development. The Middle East, a region already simmering with tension, could be pushed to the brink. The possibility of a devastating conflict looms large. On the other hand, a successful agreement could open doors to a brighter future. The path ahead is fraught with challenges. Deep mistrust and decades of animosity cast a long shadow on the negotiations. Yet there is a glimmer of hope. Both sides have expressed a willingness to engage in dialogue. This in itself is a significant step forward. The world holds its breath, hoping that this time diplomacy will prevail. The crux of the matter lies in Iran's nuclear program. The United States, along with its allies, fears that Iran harbors ambitions of developing nuclear weapons. Such a development, they argue, would destabilize the entire region. It could trigger a nuclear arms race, with unpredictable and potentially catastrophic consequences. Iran, on the other hand, maintains that its nuclear program is purely for peaceful purposes. They emphasize their right to develop nuclear energy under the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty. Tehran argues that it has the scientific expertise and resources to pursue a nuclear weapons program if it desired. However, they insist that their intentions are entirely peaceful. The international community has imposed sanctions on Iran over its nuclear program. These sanctions have crippled Iran's economy, but they have not deterred its nuclear ambitions. Iran demands the lifting of these sanctions as a precondition for any agreement. They argue that these sanctions are unjust and illegal, and that they are preventing the Iranian people from reaching their full potential. The issue of trust is paramount. Past experiences, including the US withdrawal from the 2015 nuclear deal, have eroded trust between the two sides. Building confidence and ensuring transparency are crucial for any agreement to succeed. Within the United States, the Biden administration faces internal divisions over how to approach Iran. Some voices advocate for a hardline stance. They argue that only maximum pressure, including the threat of military action, will bring Iran to the negotiating table and force it to make significant concessions. They believe that Iran only understands the language of force. Others within the administration favor a more diplomatic approach. They believe that engagement and dialogue are the best ways to address the nuclear issue and prevent a catastrophic conflict. They argue that military action would be counterproductive, leading to further instability and suffering in the region. This internal debate is reflected in the mixed signals coming from Washington. On the one hand, the Biden administration has expressed a willingness to return to the 2015 nuclear deal, which former President Trump unilaterally withdrew from in 2018. On the other hand, they have imposed new sanctions on Iran and have not ruled out the use of military force. This lack of a clear and consistent policy towards Iran has sown confusion and uncertainty. It has also emboldened hardliners on both sides, who see diplomacy as a sign of weakness. No discussion of the US-Iran nuclear talks is complete without considering Israel's position. Israel, which considers Iran an existential threat, vehemently opposes Iran's nuclear program. They argue that a nuclear-armed Iran would pose a direct threat to their existence. Israel has repeatedly threatened to take unilateral military action against Iran's nuclear facilities. They have a history of conducting airstrikes against their neighbors, and they have made it clear that they are prepared to do so again if they deem it necessary. The United States, while committed to Israel's security, is wary of any unilateral action by Israel. They fear that such an attack could spark a wider regional conflict, with unpredictable and potentially catastrophic consequences. The US is also concerned that an Israeli attack could derail diplomatic efforts to resolve the nuclear issue peacefully. Israel's stance on the nuclear talks adds another layer of complexity to an already delicate situation. Their unwavering opposition to Iran's nuclear program and their willingness to use force make a peaceful resolution all the more challenging.